Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. Today is February 1st, 2023, and this is Ben and Barry on football.
What's up out there, everybody? This is Ben Dickerson, you co-host. Went 0-2 last week, but what the heck? I don't care. Looks like we're set up for a really, really great Super Bowl.
Let me remind you out there, if you haven't seen Ben and Barry on football, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so when we put out the videos on the information for football fans, because that's who we primarily are interested in. It's one thing to be a fan of a team, and we are. But it's another thing to be a football fan and have that really be the primary situation. And that's where we try to come from when we talk about football, is that we're football fans first, fans of teams second. And, so Ben, like you said, it looks like we're going to have a heck of a Super Bowl. Now, normally what we do is we provide the whole rankings and of all the teams based on net points. We do that with the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. But we finished that last week, and it really hasn't changed. It did change a little bit for the two teams that's left, for the four teams that were in the previous. But we're going to talk about that next week, right before the Super Bowl.
Right.
So all the rankings and information as we have that all calculated out, we're going to put that there. And then we're going to look at the actual matchup in the Super Bowl based on the Bias Plus reports, utilizing those Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and looking at all that information and bringing it all together. And we'll say, hey, based on the numbers, this is what we see. But what we want to do first is talk about those conference championship games, because those games were kind of crazy, Ben. I would like to talk about the Chiefs game first, because that's the one that we were closest to in terms of the Bias Plus reports. So I believe we had the Bengals favored by, it was less than a touchdown. It was something. I can look it up real quick. But long story short, we had the Bengals favorite, and a lot of that had to do with turnovers.
Right.
And the Kansas City Chiefs in their rankings haven't, that's been some areas that they've been well below any of the teams that were still competing, right?
Right.
So you got a chance to watch it. I got a chance to watch it. Let's go with your thoughts on the Kansas City Chiefs, Cincinnati Bengals AFC Championship game.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the Chiefs first. Now, early on in that game between the Chiefs and the Bengals, the Chiefs were able to do what the Bills the week before in the divisional matchup against the Bengals were not able to do. And that was they were able to exploit the weaknesses in the Bengals offensive line. I, for one, was very surprised at how well the offensive line for the Bengals played against the Bills. Some of the weather might have had something to do with it after I thought about it later. But I thought they played extremely well, considering three of the starters were out. They had three backups playing. They played well in the run game, their run blocking, and they also played well in their pass protection. And it helped take them to the victory over the Bills. Now, the Chiefs' defense came to play, and they came to play early in this one. It was obvious that they watched the game against the Bills. It was obvious. And again, as we were reminded ad nauseum, the Bengals had beaten the Chiefs the last three times they played them. Okay? So the Chiefs took their time, schemed up their defense. Coach Spagnuolo did a wonderful job getting these guys prepared. And they collected 3 sacks on Joe Burrow in the first quarter alone, with 5 sacks total in the game. They held the Bengals to 71 total yards rushing, and they intercepted Burrow twice. Still, as well as the defense played, Burrow's got outstanding wide receivers, and those guys came through, helped them to continue to move the ball, get points on board, and keep the game close. Kept the game very tight, helped the Chiefs offense. But what helped the Chiefs offense was, I'm sorry, they also helped keep the Chiefs offense from working at 100%, along with the problems that the Chiefs had, where a few of their wide receivers did get injured, and Patrick Mahomes aggravated his high ankle sprain. So once that
Can I
flared,
interject just one thing from
sure.
the rankings? The Chiefs have the #1 offense, scoring offense in the league. So when you said they kept them from quite doing what they're doing, I just want to put that in there.
Kept them from operating at 100% is what I said.
Yeah. Well,
if they're operating at 100%, they look a lot different than they looked in that game. And the fact that their defense played so well that it hampered the Bengals offense, yet they were still able to hang in there because the Chiefs offense was not operating at 100%. If I didn't say it that way, that's the way I meant it to sound. Okay. So with Mahomes kind of messed up with the ankle, obviously hobbling around, not as bad as when it first happened, but obviously he was bothered by it. 3 of his receivers went down, leaving him with basically 3 legit receivers. I think Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Travis Kelce pretty much were the ones that stepped up big. Scantling had 6 catches. Kelce had 7. They both scored touchdowns. But that was all he had to work with besides Isaiah Pacheco, who also caught some passes and had some pretty good runs. In the end, it was 20-20, and it took a gutsy run by an obviously hampered Mahomes for a big first down, and then the untimely personal foul by a Bengals guy chasing him and pushing him out of bounds that added 15 yards on. And then Harrison Butker comes in, kicks a 45-yard field goal with 8 seconds left on the clock, and they win the game. So, again, although the Chiefs' offense was not operating at 100%, did not have all his weapons, but he did have his main ones. He made it work, and he showed why he's always an MVP candidate and is considered, if not the #1 quarterback in the NFL right now, close to it, top 3 at all times, since he's come into the league. Now, the Bengals. I'm sorry, I'm not talking about the Bengals. I'm talking about the Eagles. They're playing the Eagles in the Super Bowl. So I felt a little cheated watching the Eagles game against the Niners. The reason I felt cheated was because, unfortunately, with Brock Purdy getting hurt, I wasn't able to see the Niners offense at its best. And people might say, well, it was Brock Purdy. What do you mean at its best? Well, let's remember, they won 12 games in a row. I think Purdy won 7 of them, at least as a starter, if not 8. Also, he got knocked out of the game with the elbow injury on the opening drive for the Niners. He actually was 4 for 4 in passing before he got hurt. I believe it was the 6th play of the drive when he actually got hurt. Now, we'll say this for the Eagles. Obviously, their pass rush was cooking. Part of the reason he got injured was because there were Eagle helmets all around him. Got his arm ripped back, and when he followed through without the ball, he banged his arm on a helmet too. There's no telling what kind of damage that did. I think the initial pullback of his arm is what tore the ligament in his elbow. It says you see a unicollateral ligament in his elbow. The surgery for that is called Tommy John surgery that usually baseball pitchers go through. But I digress. On a day when the Eagles' offense wasn't at its best, the Niners somehow kept it respectful through most of the first half, mainly because, in my estimation, once Purdy went out, Josh Johnson came in. It was pretty obvious early that Josh Johnson wasn't ready for the magnitude of this game. But he did what he could. I believe the Eagles continued to send pressure, which meant that the Niners needed to lean on Christian McCaffrey in the run game. They did that. They actually got a nice drive. McCaffrey actually scored. What really hurt the Niners was when the Eagles got a turnover. I believe it was a bad snap or something. I can't remember that exactly. It's a bad snap. They got the turnover, and then they rolled down the field and scored again right before the half. That made it like 21-7. At that point, I knew the game was over. There's no way they were coming back. At first, I thought when Purdy came back that he might be able to throw a little, but it was pretty obvious that they kept running the ball. He could not throw the ball. We found out after the game that he said he could barely throw the ball 10 yards. So that was the end of that. Again, like I said, I felt a little cheated, but the Eagles did what they had to do. They played well on both sides of the ball, although the defense was really cooking. The offense leaned on the run game in the second half, which is all they needed to do. And that was basically it. It was over.
Okay. I feel like Stephen A now. I want to.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to first go back to the Bengals game because again, that was the game that was closest to what we expected in terms of the numbers. It held close to the numbers, and it's funny when Patrick Mahomes got hit out of bounds, and the guy did like give him an extra shove, like way out of bounds, you know. So yeah, they had to call it. He made it evident for them that they had to do it. That game looked, I mean, at first the Chiefs looked like they were going to, you know, handle business. The rush was really bothering the Bengals, you know.
Yes, it was.
He did some running. He ran for a first down, you know, and so that's how that was being handled. And so it was interesting. When I look at those two teams and I look at the types of offenses that they run, I would say that the Bengals are the more traditional. And then you have the Chiefs, which are, you know, a little less traditional. But they pointed out that Patrick Mahomes is a pretty good pocket passer. And he actually does work from the pocket pretty good, you know. And they were mentioning, and I say they, listening to some analysts talk about it. You know, like if you look at the highlights, they always want to show you the crazy little thing that he did. But if it was a 10-play drive, 6 of them might have been just quick pocket passes. You know, they throw a lot to the running backs, and you know, they get the ball out their hands quick, you know. So that's an interesting take on that. And I guess the reason I wanted to kind of point it out in that manner, because we talk about football as a game of matchups. And a lot of times it's a game of matchups relative to personnel. That's what people are thinking about. But it's also a game of matchups in terms of football styles, you know, and can one team, you know, handle the style of another team. Now, when I went back and looked at the Niner-Eagles game, I literally went back and looked at the Niner-Eagle game, all 22, you know, because I wanted to kind of, you know, see if the things that I was thinking, because sometimes the game goes by and you're saying, okay, what was that? What was that? And it was really very interesting. And I guess I'm going to sort of wrap it up, but I'm going to give you some stuff on a play-by-play basis to kind of back up what I'm saying. But the factors in that game, number one, I believe coaching. Coaching is a factor in that game, and I'll talk about why. Well, the why is because of the style that the defense of the Eagles plays. And did we do what we needed to do to handle that? And what I mean is this. In a lot of cases, teams are rushing 4. Philadelphia pretty much always rushes 5. You know, it's funny, again, I'm a Madden guy, and when I'm looking at my different defenses and I see those defenses, and I like them because you can do a lot with it. It's like a blitz. You know, blitz is basically you're sending like 5, right? That pretty much defines a basic blitz, you know, but this is their line. This is what they do. And so the coach, I don't think the coach made the necessary adjustments. When I looked at that game, it started, the first mistake was that he did not challenge the deep pass to Devontae Smith. When you see a player get up and hurry everybody up to the line, and they just made a move of like 30 plus yards to your 6-yard line, you're going to call a timeout anyway. But why not just go ahead and throw the red flag and make it a challenge? And if you lose the timeout, you lose the timeout, because you should not be letting them hurry up on your 6-yard line. You got to stop that right then and there. Okay. The Eagles, so that's one of the things. I've heard them kind of discredit their linebackers a little bit. People, when they talk about the Eagles, but in the way that they play their defense, the linebackers need to just have to kind of flow around, because the line the line is dictating the types of offensive blocking schemes that people are doing, because you got to block that. You know what I mean? So number one, I think that he should have challenged that play. They wound up scoring on that drive, and so that put them in a bad situation. Turnovers killed us, okay, but again, it came from that rush, that pass. Hassan Reddick was killing. I'm looking at who they had blocking on that side, and they had a third string tight end blocking, and Hassan Reddick blew right through him, and again, the pocket thing was breaking down, and it happened with both of the quarterbacks. And whereas you look at the situation with Hurts, his pocket breaks down, he rolls a little right, rolls a little left, he's creating problem. Kind of the same thing with Mahomes. But the difference is the Eagles are a true option offense. And I can't remember a time in the Super Bowl era where you had a true option offense in the Super Bowl. And what concerns me about the deal with the Chiefs is that, again, they did pretty good against, the Bengals. They did pretty good against the Bills, but I don't think there's much of a true option, offense. When you said, for example, that the Niners needed to run the ball in the second half, but they couldn't, and then you said,
I didn't say that.
Well, we needed to run the ball after all of our quarterbacks got hurt.
I agree with that.
But when I say we couldn't, it's not like we were tying up the score or anything like that, running the ball. Once they realized that's all we could do, they pretty much shut that run down.
Okay, now I can tell you what I was thinking, but I didn't say in reference to that specifically.
Go ahead.
Okay, y'all ran like how many reverses did they run? You remember?
Everything is a reverse with those guys, and
wait, stop. What do you mean everything is reversed with those guys?
Reverses on fucking pass plays. Excuse my French.
We're talking about the Niners, right?
Right.
Okay. So everybody in the stadium knows they can't throw the ball.
Right.
How many times did they pitch it to somebody else and run reverses? At least 4 times. Okay. Minimum.
Go ahead.
Okay. To me, that was an egregious lack of preparation for something like this happening, although you don't normally plan for your quarterback to get hurt. But you don't come out and run a bunch of reverses when you know and they know that you can't pass the ball. You run plays that are going to be possibly successful. Those plays had no chance. Their best bet was to line up in the Wildcat with McCaffrey and just run the Wildcat. Put Debo back there with him and let him pitch it, fake it, run it, flip it, hand it, run it, fake it, run it. That was their only chance. to get a ground game of anything going. And they completely didn't even try it. And McCaffrey can actually throw the ball.
Well, you bring up a point, and I'll add to that, okay? Number one, I think it's ironic that, remember I said at the beginning of the season, when I looked at the Madden playbook, all of a sudden there were pistol formations and all of that kind of stuff in the playbook.
That was for Trey Lance.
Right, exactly. That weren't there the week before. So here we had as our base offense that option style offense with the pistol and all of that kind of stuff. Close to the Wildcat, but it's kind of the same thing. Number one. Number two, McCaffrey can throw. So if you're going to swing McCaffrey and have them do the reverses, let them stop and throw the ball to somebody.
Don't run reverses. That's ridiculous.
Well,
go right at him. You got a normal run game. That means you have good run blockers. When you run reverses, you're trying to trick them. You don't need to trick them. Them same run blockers that have been blocking for McCaffrey and blocking for Mitchell, let them do their thing. Running reverses, that now you got a trap and you got a down block. And
understand what I'm saying, Ben. Understand what I'm saying, okay? They were running a lot of reverses anyway, okay? What I'm thinking is, if you're going to run that reverse, give McCaffrey the option to throw the ball. So that, once you get it, all you got to do, you're just trying to get him free for a second, and then you got receivers that can be coming underneath. He can throw the ball. He's already thrown a touchdown. That's in our playbook already because he's already done it, and he didn't run any of that kind of stuff. I agree with you. At some point, you got to be able to just put your shoulder pads down and push into, the first down. The Eagles were doing that at the goal line. The Jalen Hurts quarterback sneak now is a play. You know what I mean? Everybody knows it's coming, but nobody can stop it. And one of the things that they do that was very good, and they pointed it out, level of pads. When they line up at that goal line and they do the push, their front line, the level of pads is low. These some big boys, but they getting down and they pushing down. And Jalen Hurts is just right behind them. The other thing that really affected this game was the penalties. I mean, it really hurt the Chiefs. Obviously, it was like the one big penalty, but the Eagles got literally moved downfield on penalties on third down. And I saw
one entire series.
Huh?
One entire series.
Exactly.
They moved down the field on penalties.
I'm telling you. And most of those penalties came on third down. So, they had played well. First down, second down, and third down, they actually played well, except, there's the flag. Boom, next first down. You know what I mean? So the blocking scheme, not challenging that Devontae Smith catch, the not using your playbook in terms of allowing McCaffrey to be all that he could be, for you, because it's in your playbook already. So those are just some of the things that I saw. But I just want to kind of say that I believe the Eagles present, again, a unique challenge to a defense. And that's what I'm interested in when we talk about the matchup next week for the Chiefs, because again, it's kind of like with us. Everybody's talking about, they got, Bosa, but we need, it's not just Bosa. When you playing a Jalen Hurts, you better have strong people on both sides and that push up the middle. And, again, they have a great offensive line that's very mobile. So, like when you said, like in the second half, the Niners' really only option was to run the ball, maybe throw some option passes if I got my way. But everybody kind of knew what they had to do, right? Well, everybody kind of knew what the Eagles had to do in the second half too, which was run the ball. But they did it because that's the type of challenge that Hurts brings. As I say, when Hurts is there, it affects your rush. You rush different. It's not like coming after Joe Burrow. You kind of know where he's going to be. He's kind of mobile, but he's not scaring you like he's going to do a lot of running. You know what I mean? So that you can play that traditional defense. But when you're playing these guys, you have to be thinking 11 on 11 when you're playing them. And even I saw one play where Hurts rolled to the left, and I swear it had to be 4 Niners rolling over there to the left with him. And I'm saying, okay, where's everybody else at? Because that's what he does. And that's the kind of thing I was saying McCaffrey could do. You're going to get him out to the, however you get him, whether it's a quick pitch, whether it's a quick pass, or however you want to get him, or backwards lateral, whatever, get him out there and let him throw the ball because he can throw the ball. You can also do the wildcat. It was funny watching him try to get himself on under the helmet with the microphone, because he hadn't really done it. And so that became a challenge. It was a tough day. I believe that the theme for the Niners that day was bad luck. Even with Jackson, because he didn't play bad. He, like you said, he led him on a scoring drive. He was actually in there a little longer than what I had remembered. So he actually didn't play bad. But again, it's that same side, that same 5-man pressure coming every time, and you got to block it every time. The strange penalty that we had that created a problem was the Dre Greenlaw penalty for unnecessary roughness when he was trying to hit the ball out. He's throwing haymakers at the ball like, Yeah,
well, they let the first couple go, but you can't keep doing it after the whistle blows.
So, and we had a few of those types of penalties where, okay, we didn't just,
little over aggressiveness from frustration.
Yeah.
Those are frustration penalties.
2nd and 8, Jalen Hurts right end, pushed out of bounds at the San Francisco 7 for 14 yards. Penalty on Hufanga for unnecessary roughness. So you get him out. You keep him from getting the first, and then you give him the first. You know what I mean? And you can't give them guys that. So it's going to be interesting to see that Chiefs and how they adapt to this option offense, defensively, to this option offense that's coming their way. And the Chiefs being able to defend this 5-man defensive line that's going to be coming at them most of the time. So, you have a very mobile Patrick Mahomes under normal circumstances. We'll see how he is come Super Bowl Sunday, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So that's my take on it. I do believe that the coach has to take a lot of the blame. Let me ask you this question, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
When we were running the ball, at certain points, we were on our own side of the 50, and it's 4th down.
Right.
And I forget what the amount of yards, but let's say it wasn't a gimme like a 1 yard. It's like 4th and 5 or something like that.
Okay.
And you go for it, and you don't get it, and you turn the ball over, and they're basically a field goal kick already.
Right.
In field goal position. Do you go for it on 4th, or do you punt it?
No. You're already limited offensively. Okay, you're not fooling anybody. Everybody knows you have to run the ball to get somewhere. Okay, under normal circumstances, you kind of look sideways at a 4th and 5 on your own side of the 50. Anyway, even if your quarterback is in there and healthy. So no, you can't do that. Again, I heard a lot of Eagles fans bragging about the Niners was supposed to be such a great defense and we hung 31 on them. Well, guess what? I don't care how good your defense is. If your offense can't move the ball, you're going to lose. You're going to lose the field position battle. If you lose the field position battle, your defense is going to break. If they're on the field all the time and they're playing on short fields all the time, they're going to get scored on. And guess what? They actually were holding their own. You know how many times the Niners punted? 4. You know how many times the Eagles punted? 4.
I thought the defense played relatively well.
Considering what they were up against, they did.
What they were up against. Yes. And to be quite honest with you, a couple times, Jalen Hurts was throwing balls that were pretty much going into the dirt, but his receivers bailed him out.
AJ made a couple of great plays. And while we're talking about catches, the one-hand Devontae, I'm going to tell you why I think that didn't get challenged. Remember, a lot of times the coach on the field who has the red flag, the head coach, is waiting for somebody to tell him in their headset, we need to challenge that, because they real quick saw a replay or they saw something from upstairs that tells them different from what he saw on the field. There was not a lot of good angles on that catch. It even took the TV people a bunch of times to find an angle where you could actually see the ball come out, okay? And the Eagles control the replays on the Jumbotron in their stadium. They never showed the replay. When they were running up, I mean, the fact that they were running should have gave you a clue.
That's my point.
I get it. But he was probably waiting for somebody to say, yeah, throw the flag. And they didn't, because they couldn't get the replay.
Well, and again, the change in field position to the point where they're damn near on your goal line.
That alone dictates.
To me, that alone should have dictated.
I got you. I cannot disagree with that. I'm just letting you know that normal protocol, the guy on the field with the red flag, depends on the people upstairs. And when you're in somebody else's stadium, they control the replay.
Okay. I mean, look, again, that's for him to know. He's been in enough championship type games.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Look, let me tell you something. I wouldn't be surprised if I was playing Madden, if I did that to somebody and got to their 6, and I'm going, because I'm the kind of guy, and I think, who was it? The Eagles, as a matter of fact, went into the hurry up a few times. You know, they're playing every angle. You know, especially at this option, because you go into the hurry up and Jalen Hurts is back there, and you're not in position. You know what I mean? You're not in position, much less if it's. I'm not sure if they did it on 4th, but it keeps you from your defense from being able to bring in certain personnel. So if it's 4th and 2, you know, and you wanted to bring in an extra big guy, they're rushing up to the line. You know what I mean? Right. You know, they're playing every angle, man.
I gotta admit, and I was a little skeptical about the Eagles coaching staff early on in the season. I thought the players were playing extremely well. And if anything bad was going to happen, it would be because of the coaches. But I got to give them credit. They seem to have learned to exploit every opportunity that they have because of the players that they have. They're taking advantage of every strength possible. And yeah, they're doing things like that. And I got to give them credit for that. Absolutely.
I mean, even in the beginning, Hurts throwing short, quick passes, you know, offsetting our defensive rush. You know what I mean? And I think I mentioned to you, I always keep an eye on Bosa, because Bosa, he is so intent on sacking the quarterback, you know, and he's in his track stance and all of that kind of stuff. That don't play well against option quarterbacks. And I saw a number of times.
Because he's their read. He's Hurts' read.
Well, this is what I'm saying. You know, you can't just do the same thing and act like you're playing against Joe Burrow. You're not, you know? So, you know, there was a few times when he when he did what he was supposed to. He didn't mess up all the time, but he got caught up a lot of times, in terms of the blocking schemes and stuff like that. So, you just got to keep your eye on him, and that needs to be coached a little bit more. All right. So we talked about both championship games. And also this week, one of the big things that's happening is as part of the coaching carousel. And we've got some potential trades. And we had a super big announcement today. So it just so happens on this date, February 1st, 2023, a historic announcement was made. Where you want to start at?
A historic announcement?
Don't you think?
You're calling this historic? Is this the same historic announcement we had 1 year ago to the day?
You didn't believe it then, did you?
No, I did not.
You believe it today?
No, I do not.
Oh, you still don't believe it?
No.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious. I'll believe it when the season starts next year and he's not on the roster. Then I'll believe it.
Holding out hard. Oh my goodness, that is crazy. That is crazy. Okay.
But if in fact it is true that Tom Brady is retiring for good,
that was his announcement today.
He should be celebrated. Okay. It's pretty much acknowledged that he's the GOAT. Okay, and he deserves it. He's had a great career, and I hope that he rides off into the sunset. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that's going to take a TV job.
He's already got the contract. Fox, I understand Fox is giving him like $100 million or something stupid like that.
Is he accepting the contract?
I believe that they pretty much.
I know they offered him.
It's like, I think it's like it's set up. So he says, I retire, boom, he starts the job. I don't retire.
All right. Well,
it's like
again,
they're holding it for him.
When I see him with a suit and tie on, I believe that one too. Okay. But in the meantime, before this retirement today, I had him going to the Raiders.
Okay.
Derek Carr is obviously out. Josh McDaniel, who's been around and has several Super Bowl rings, along with Brady, is the head coach. And Dave Ziegler is the GM. He's the ex-GM from the Patriots. Looks like it's all set up. He's got Devontae Adams, Renfro, Waller. He's got a great running back, Josh Jacobs. If they re-sign him, that seems to be a little questionable too. So Josh Jacobs getting re-signed may have something to do with whatever they're going to do with their quarterback situation. All these things are kind of tied together. But if in fact he is retired, then that's great. That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Well, let me say that the New York Post in an article says that Brady has a 10-year, $375 million contract with the network to be its #1 NFL game analyst alongside Kevin Burkhardt.
Game analyst.
$375 million.
That means he's going to be a color commentator.
Okay.
That's cool.
It's sweet. You talking about cool.
Well, we'll see.
Sweet.
We'll see. Is he going to be is he going to be rated better than Aikman? If he's not better than Aikman, and he's not better than Romo, and he's not better than Moose Johnson, then he's going to be an average ho-hum color commentator, and nobody's going to care that he's on television. Well, they're top guys.
That might be that, that's a possibility, I guess, that you bring that up, that he won't be as good as those guys. But Tom Brady's a pretty smart guy. And if me and you can talk football, I'm sure he can talk some
I'm
football.
not saying he can't talk football. Is color commentators need to be entertaining. That's part of the job. Play-by-play is play-by-play. Color
You
commentators,
once said he was a color commentator. I don't know if that's what he's going to be.
what's he going to be? There's two guys that do games, the play-by-play guy and the other guy. Call him what you want.
Well, the play-by-play guy and the other guy, and I don't. So we'll see. Again, I'm not going to get into.
I'm not saying he's going to stink. I'm just saying we'll see how good he is. Everybody's all hyped. They're giving him all this money.
Well,
he might not be good.
Which is my point. A 10-year, $375 million contract.
Best job in the world.
Hey, look, unless he wants to be a backup quarterback, but they ain't giving him 375. What's that? 37.5 per year?
Why would he want to do that?
Hey, Ben, that's just under what quarterbacks are making in the NFL, if you think about it. 37 million per year. And quarterback in the NFL making
and guess
40
what?
million.
And guess what? He won't have to take any pay cuts like he did his whole career for other players.
10 years. This is 10 years. This ain't
a whole new career.
This is a 10-year contract.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Got it made.
Should I retire and take this $375 million? I mean, look, congratulations, on your retirement. All the best. And I hope you are a great analyst, because I love to learn more about football. And if there's anything you got locked in, and it'll be interesting to see what his thoughts are on option offenses and things of that nature as they come into the NFL and become part of the NFL. So it'll be interesting, because he's the probably one of the best pocket quarterbacks that we've ever seen. That's how he operates. That's where he operates from. Remember, we did the Super Bowl. Was it the Super Bowl or the championships against the Chiefs, and we had the lines depicting, where the quarterback ran to.
Right.
And Tom Brady's lines looked like a dot. Mahomes' lines was like all over the field, all like this and everything. That one graphic I thought was just so, it actually showed the essence of the difference in what those quarterbacks had to do, So it'll be interesting. Maybe we'll look for those same types of lines when Mahomes and Jalen Hurts get the running around.
Hurts not a scrambler. Hurts is a dual threat quarterback, a true dual threat quarterback.
Truly. But I mean,
he's not going to throw the ball. He's going downfield. He's north and south.
Well, that's where his line will go. It'll be like, yeah.
Right. Right. All his lines will be going this way toward the first down markers.
I'm telling you. Okay. So you did say you got some research done. What was it that you looked at that you wanted?
Well, I just was going to say, no, I'm in reference to these quarterbacks. It's going to be a lot of quarterback movement. Two reasons. Number one, actually, there's three things going on when you talk about quarterbacks. This is supposed to be a very strong quarterback draft, which we won't talk about right now because that's a show unto itself that we do in the offseason. But that aside, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are going to be free agents this year. There's some quarterbacks that are going to be leaving their team, not just in free agency, but could possibly be traded. And there are a lot of teams that are looking for quarterbacks and not backups either. They're looking for guys that will fit their team and what they already have to try to make them better as a starter. So I just took down a few names. Actually, it's more than a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got a little bit of information on 7 different dudes. And I'll just give you just little, it won't be a lot. Let's talk about Derek Carr real fast. Derek Carr got benched by the Raiders. The reason they benched him was because he had a clause in his contract that if he got injured, they would have to pay him a large chunk of his remaining salary. So before he got hurt, after his game week 16, I believe, they sat him on the bench. This was kind of mutual. In fact, he actually left the team so as not to be a distraction. Good for him. Derek Carr, team guy all the time. Question is, will they let him just go? Will they release him? Or will they attempt to trade him while they still have time to do so? And if possibly they look to trade him, Bleacher Report, and I agree, say that a good landing spot for him could possibly be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where Tom Brady is retired from. So that's something to think about there. The only other place I heard about Derek Carr was Miami.
I actually mused on Derek Carr coming to the Niners.
Okay.
Because
again, if you want to talk about teams, the Niners are a team where all options are open right now. All options, including Tom Brady.
I didn't like the Tom Brady fit.
You may not like it,
but
it's a possibility.
And I remember what I told you. I said I thought Stephen A. said, right now with the contract status for the Niners as far as their quarterbacks are concerned, keep all three of them and still go get Tom Brady. Just spend the money for the 1 year. And they just announced that they're going to increase the cap by like $22 million.
Yes, that is true.
So, that's a possibility. But the Niners offense is too much a play fake here. And again, they were leaning toward that whole option thing. And so they're going to have to play up true.
But they never got to it. Trey Lance got hurt.
Right, I understand, but I'm saying
Brady is Garoppolo. They're the same guy.
Well,
Brady is the same
but my
guy.
point is relative to Brady, they would have to run a more conventional offense. And
I don't think so.
I'm having some challenges with my offensive line. I remember I said to you before that even on Madden, when I looked at the rank ratings, I was surprised that they were playing as well as they were. And I think I said they really seem to be a cohesive unit. But when you look across
individually,
of course, you got Trent Williams. He's like the 96, right?
Mm-hmm.
McGlinchey is like barely in the 80s. And everybody else is low 70s, pushing down on 60s, And I'm like, ooh, so.
But you make up for that with cohesiveness and scheme.
And getting some better linemen.
Well, I mean,
that's the focus.
To this point, that's what they've done. But if they were in fact going to make a move like that for Brady, that would be something that they would have to address early and fast.
Thank you.
Early and fast. Sorry I said that, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
That would be something they would have to address right away.
So
because he obviously has shown that he don't want to get hit no more. If there's a flaw in Brady's game, he ain't getting hit no more. He don't want nobody to even get near him.
He's less mobile than what he was. Never very mobile, but he's even now he's pushing up on statue.
Right.
I really wasn't a fan of that move, of that possibility anyway. I did understand his roots in the area and his desire, Joe Montana love and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, I could understand that if the Niners did it, it would be probably one of the biggest PR things you could do. You know what I'm saying?
But do you think they could win with him?
No.
I think they could.
I think that Shanahan, that's not how he thinks. It's funny. I was listening to them question who the deep threat on the Niners was out of our wide receivers. And I see Ayuk and I see Debo as deep threats, but he don't use them like that.
I don't like Debo as a deep threat.
Why?
Debo's a slot guy to me.
Why?
Because of the way he runs his routes. His quickness is to me, his quickness makes more sense on short to intermediate routes, like a Tyreek Hill. You didn't see Tyreek Hill running on a lot of deep seam routes, but he ran long routes, but you didn't see a lot of them. He usually caught the ball within 10, 15 yards of the line of scrimmage, and then he went to work after that. That's the kind of player I see Debo as. Ayuk has improved his route running immensely, and he can get deep on anybody. If you try to cover him man to man, you're going to have problems. But they didn't really throw the ball deep that much.
Well, that's
they
kind
could
of
have, but they could have.
Right.
Okay.
That's my whole point.
But if they brought Brady here, guess what? Ayuk would blow up. Trust me. He's Mike Evans. Faster.
If Shanahan understands that.
He does understand that. What he wants and what he does is two different things. He wants a dual threat quarterback. He wants like hell for Trey Lance to get where he wants him to be. That's what he wants. But what he has had and what he has is pocket passers. And they've been winning with them guys. So it's not like he don't know how to do
it. They're winning with him, but again, a lot of the his style of play calling, okay, is like you said. You said Purdy was like he completed his first 4 passes, right?
Yeah.
Well, again, if you look at the times like when he got hurt, he's looking this way because he's got all of these fakes built in, to what basically was a pass play. And by the time he turned around, Hassan Reddick is hitting him in the head. Brady, you're going to run something where he's not trying to do all of that stuff. He's going to get the ball out. He's going to get it quick, and he's going to throw it accurate. And that's what you want from him. But I don't know if Shanahan will run something that's simple and effective. Maybe you question whether he will or not. I watch what he does, and just like you said, when him running back and forth and all the reverses in the situation against the Eagles, you know what I mean? And I'm saying, hey, look, you got the one guy who can throw the ball. Actually, probably 2 guys. I think Juszczyk can throw the ball also.
He was next after.
Right. So you got 2 guys who can kind of throw the ball, and in that offensive attack that you showed where, when after Purdy got hurt and Purdy was in there, he could throw the ball 5-10 yards. He could turn around and do that. That he could do, but you didn't really take advantage of that. So I don't think that's what I think. His way of thinking, his way of looking at it, I don't know if he can make the mental adjustment to a Tom Brady to take full advantage and not get Tom Brady killed. That's my question. Okay, well, that's, you don't agree, but that's why we have fun with this.
You're not giving your coach no credit, man.
I give my coach credit for what he does. I don't, what he does. It is.
Yeah, but for you to anticipate the negative on something he hasn't even had a chance to have, I don't think is fair.
I just don't see the fit.
This guy is a wealth of offensive knowledge. He could adjust you quarterback in that team. In that game,
he probably would adjust better with me. Because
in that game against the Eagles, I'm going to say something. I was trying not to say it.
Say it.
He quit. Guess what? You know why they call the Wildcat the Wildcat?
Why?
Because the person that lines up in the quarterback position is not a traditional quarterback. That's the only difference between the Niners running the Wildcat with McCaffrey and the Eagles offense. McCaffrey could have ran the same thing Jalen Hurts runs. The same exact thing.
Again, you and I sometimes sound like we're arguing when we're actually agreeing to the max.
Right, but the Eagles don't run reverses.
Right, but what I'm saying to you is that option, just the same thing like Jalen Hurts, is in our playbook. It's there.
But he didn't run it.
He didn't run it. And when you say he quit, I'll be quite honest with you. The thought kind of went through my head real quick.
I know, but as a fan, you didn't want to believe it.
Well, at the time, I wasn't going to focus on that. There's so much going on. But that's why I asked you, should he have punted the ball? If you're going to give the ball to the Eagles on their own like 30-yard line, or even think you're going to give it to them, then you're just letting them punt. And to be quite honest, when you look at the point differential, they were up 14, I think, at halftime, right? They really
21-7. Thought it was 21-7.
21-7. That's 14 points, right?
Yeah.
So they scored like what 31.
Yeah.
And so much of that was because he's turning the ball, he's giving the ball right back to him. Well, and Josh Johnson gave it to him too on the
right. But again, you just reminded me of what I was saying before. Let's not come down too hard on the Niners defense. After halftime, the Eagles only scored 10 more points. You could say, yeah, they just ran the ball. They could have ran up more if they had thrown the ball and ran the regular offense. Okay, fine. But you had the advantage. You had field position. You had this.
We gave them field position.
Great running. Yes. And you still was only able to put up a touchdown and a field goal on that Niners defense. They held you and made you punt 4 times. Now, that's not a big deal. When you're up 21-7, who cares? We'll trade punts. I don't care. I'm going to keep punching you until you succumb because your offense can't hurt. So I have no problem with what the Eagles did. I'm just saying they're making it sound like they ran roughshod over the Niners defense, and they did not.
No, they didn't. I agree with you there. Okay. So you got through one, and then I interrupted you.
Oh, that's all right. So we talked about Tom Brady. We talked about Derek Carr. Let's talk about Sam Darnold.
Do we have to?
Yes. Sam Darnold played good down the stretch, bro. As bad as Tampa Bay was playing, Sam Darnold played well enough to where the Panthers actually had an opportunity to win the division. Saints did too, okay? But they were in position to possibly win that division. And obviously, as bad as everybody in the division played, including Atlanta, in order to make the playoffs, you would have had to win the division. Sam Darnold played well enough to keep the Panthers in it all the way up to week 18. It seems that Sam Darnold may be able to resurrect his career if he can get to a team that has a good run game. The Panthers' run game was pretty good, and a pretty good coach, and a decent defense. If he has a good run game, that means he doesn't have to carry the team and shouldn't feel like he has to carry the team, which should keep his mistakes down. How about Sam Darnold to the Indianapolis Colts?
I'm not excited about Sam Darnold
at all
as a starting quarterback. He can back it up anywhere in the league. And
okay.
As a backup, I don't see him.
Okay.
No franchise to a Super Bowl. So.
I respect that. Jimmy Garoppolo. Where does he end up next year?
Well, let me just say real quick that I just read something that they're quoting Shanahan as saying he has no future in San Fran.
That is correct. So you got to look at the teams out there that need a quarterback and don't necessarily want to depend on getting a good draft pick and keeping their fingers crossed that the guy pops and ends up being good right away. They want to bring in a veteran that can get them going. They got a solid defense already, a decent run game, and good skill position guys that can catch passes. That's the kind of team where Garoppolo could thrive as long as he can stay healthy.
Let me guess. Let me guess. The Commanders.
No, but we'll talk about them later. I'm thinking New York Jets.
The Jets. Okay. They have all that.
Yeah, they like Mike White.
And he knows the coach, right?
And he knows the coach. Well, the offensive coordinator there just got hired. is Hackett from Denver. He's now the OC there. So he's got ties.
Yeah, that's to me, that's a Sam Darnold type move. Bringing Hackett in as your
Darnold to the Jets?
No, bringing Hackett in as your offensive coordinator. I'm not excited about that either.
Okay. But you remember how that happened, right? Denver got him trying to lure Aaron Rodgers. Remember Hackett's a Green Bay guy.
Yeah, I understand.
So anyway.
And remember what I said. He got a lot of credit,
Yes, he did.
But he had Aaron Rodgers.
Right. And Russell Wilson is not Aaron Rodgers.
Not
saying Russell stinks and Aaron's good, but they're just not the same guy.
Yeah, it's like saying, you're great, but you got the greatest quarterback ever. So you don't have to be really, really great.
Yeah.
You just need to get out the way for the most part.
Yeah. Let's face it. If people question Belichick for the success when he had Tom Brady, doggone well they're gonna question Hackett when he had Aaron Rodgers. Garoppolo will end up somewhere though, and guess what? The Commanders are not out of the question. Lamar Jackson, will he be traded or will he not? I think not. I think they're going to tag him, and then they're going to work like hell to get a long-term contract done. The Ravens don't really have much of a choice. They done changed the whole doggone offense for this guy, okay? And even though the guy that constructed that offense is now gone, right, they need somebody that can come in and kind of enhance the passing part of that offense. They were far too run heavy, far too run heavy. And I think he regressed from the MVP year he had when he threw all those touchdown passes. I think his passing has regressed. So they're going to need a new coordinator that can enhance that, make him happy, get him back healthy, and pay the man some kind of way. He has already turned down a 6-year, $250 million contract, probably because they only guaranteed $133 million, and he wants it fully guaranteed. And I don't think he's going to waver from that. And I think that's going to scare other teams away. Okay. That's just me.
All right.
Okay. Couple more. Daniel Jones. He's locked in with the Giants. Tired of people coming up to me asking me about that. Y'all gonna keep your quarterback? Yeah, we're keeping it. Okay. This guy, over 2 years, 2020, 2021, he threw 21 touchdown passes and 17 interceptions. In 1 year, this season, he threw 15 touchdown passes, only 5 interceptions. The big deal with Daniel Jones was the turnovers. He seems to have fixed that. Thank you, Brian Daboll, our new head coach. 3,205 yards passing, 708 yards rushing. Big. Daniel Jones is a true dual threat quarterback. 7 touchdowns on the ground. All they need to do is get him some receivers, and we're off and running.
Okay.
Baker Mayfield. Another guy you don't care about, but a guy who seems to have resurrected his career a little bit after going to the Rams. Okay. He can't stay with the Rams. Can't do it. Matt Stafford will be back. I think he's signed for the next 3 or 4 years. So he's going to make his comeback. That means Baker's got to go. Where does Baker end up? The Commanders. You've been waiting for me to say it like that. The Commanders.
I haven't.
Baker Mayfield to the Commanders. Yeah. How about it? Where else? I mean, maybe the Jets. Maybe he goes to the Jets and Jimmy G goes to the Commanders. Either way, I think those fit. I think they fit. That's all. I'm just looking for fits. And last but not least, Geno Smith. If the Seahawks are smart, This man's coming off a career year after looking like a total bust. Not only a career year, 29 touchdown passes, only 9 interceptions, and led the league in completion rate. How crazy is that? Geno Smith led the league in something? Unbelievable. But how do we know he's not going to fall on his face next year? So you don't sign him long-term yet. You tag him, pay him, which he earned, see if he does it again. If he does it again, I think he's young enough that you can give him a 4 or 5 year contract and ride him out.
Interesting. Interesting. So if they tag him, he had a cap number of 3.5 million. So he's 1.6% of the cap. And if they franchise tag him,
they'll have to pay him close to what, 30, 35?
That's a hell of an increase.
That's a big, yeah, but guess what? He was this close to getting him in the playoffs.
I'm not questioning him so much. Because again, you're absolutely right. And we tracked the Seahawks, and the Seahawks were one of those teams with a high ranking differential between their offense and their defense, which is somewhat surprising because the Seahawks were kind of known for their defense.
Yeah, they fell off some.
So long, but they were one of those teams, kind of like the Vikings, kind of like the Lions.
Yeah, they showed flashes, but they weren't consistently strong.
That had top 10 to top 5 offenses, but bottom 8 defenses.
Right.
Now the Broncos had the exact opposite. They had a top 5 defense and the absolute 32nd place last offense.
Right. Which
is why the whole Hackett thing to me, I think is just crazy. But yeah, okay. That I can see where Geno would be like, he's not in a position where he can go, I want, a 10-year, 30, and all that kind of stuff. That would be a great move for him, 3.5 mil to like 35, 40 plus mil.
Right. Like I don't know that they're in a position to negotiate and sign him to a 1-year deal. He's probably coming off of a 1-year deal now.
That's what I'm saying. That's what he has.
Yeah. So maybe they could negotiate and sign him to another 1-year deal for 20 or 22 million or something like that, and not tag him. But if they don't tag him, it's possible, because he'll be a free agent, it's possible that somebody else might come in and offer him a little bit more money than they lose him. That's why I mentioned the tag.
The non-exclusive franchise tender for the quarterback position is slightly more than 32.4 million next year for 2020. What was that? 2023.
Right. So if they offer him 20 and somebody else comes in and says, we'll give you 23, he's gone. And they got to start from scratch with Drew Lock.
Competition? Are you suggesting competition for Geno Smith out there amongst NFL?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Hey, I think you're the only one I've heard say that, buddy.
You think the Commanders wouldn't like to have Geno Smith?
They might. The
Jets. Look, he played for the Jets.
Yes, he did. A whole different regime ago, but
right
for the Jets, he would be coming back.
Right.
As a whole new
These
guy.
These teams need quarterbacks, and they have to decide: do I have a high enough draft pick, or do I have enough draft capital to move up enough to get one of these top guys coming out in the draft, and then keep my fingers crossed that they hit right away? Or do I go after a veteran
Okay.
that can hold me up for at least one more year.
All right. Well, if I were to look at this list of quarterbacks that you just went through, and I were to compare them to like the quarterback drafts, you remember like what they said about like was it last year's draft, the year before that? Like, well, there's really not nobody coming out the draft. That's what this list of quarterbacks look like. You'd be like, well, you know.
I don't know about that. I think this quarterback draft is way better than last year.
No, this quarterback, no. I'm saying last year they were saying.
Oh yeah, last year they were
in. This group of quarterbacks that you just talked about reminds me of what they said about last year's quarterback draft.
Right.
So that's what I guess I'm saying here.
But again, it's still a crapshoot. I mean, you feel better about it, but are you going to base your whole team's immediate future and future down the line on spending a first-round pick, a high first-round pick on one of these quarterbacks and think he's going to save you or turn you around right now?
Oh, I understand what you're saying. That we talked about the success ratio for picking quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It's even worse, I think, if they're Heisman winners.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. But you know what? Guess what? If you're going to do that anyway, because you know you need a guy for your future, you get a Geno Smith, or you get a Baker Mayfield, or you get a Sam Darnold for 1 year. Go ahead, use that draft pick. Let the guy sit for a little while. Some of them make it, some of them don't. Malik Willis didn't do well, but the kid down in Atlanta didn't look too bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he got to sit almost to the end of the season before they decided to use him, and he didn't stink.
Okay. All right. You ready to go to social media?
Sure.
All right, Benny. So we're at the Ben and Barry Facebook page. This is this is the from last week's show. Here you were sporting your Giant stuff, and a toast to the people.
NY.
NY.
Not yet.
All right. Sad news here. USFL signee Lamonier, ex-Lions linebacker, dies at 25 years old.
Oh, yeah. What happened?
I don't even know, to be quite honest with you. I see 25 years old, and I'm just, it's tragic, no matter what. Let's take a quick look. No details have been released on the cause of death.
Oh, gosh.
So
that's not good.
Nope, that's not good at all. That's not good at all. All right.
That makes me think, I don't know what to think.
Page here, I just wanted to mention it again. Young man who had dreams, dying at such a early age. We talked about the cap being 224.8 million,
right?
For 2023. And we also talked about the franchise tag, at least as far as the quarterback is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So the XFL starts. When did they start? This is February. They already started.
Wow.
January 29th. So we have to find, I have not seen anything on, stations saying XFL.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about any schedule of games coming up or whatever, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that. But I'll tell you what, and I don't want to say anything bad about the XFL, but I'm looking forward to the USFL. After last season, I was very impressed, and there were several players that made it on the NFL rosters. That kid Turpin that got to the Cowboys, man, he belongs. He belongs. If he never does anything but return kicks, he belongs. So, I'm looking forward to that.
It did give now XFL. This is the one with The Rock, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I saw some ads, but I really haven't seen them. So D'Amico Ryan's got a thank you from the 49ers and fans. As he'll now go be the head coach for the Texans. And the first thing I thought was the Texans, Houston Texans, that's where black coaches go to die, isn't it?
Oh my God, you took the words right out of my mouth.
But I will say this much. They get these multi-year contracts, then they get fired after 1 year. So they got 2 or 3 years on their contract where they're getting paid anyway. So
that's true.
The Houston Texans are really supporting the black community in terms of that. The only question I have is some of these contracts, I understand with these coaches, there's something in the contract where the coach has to go try to find another job. And it's kind of built into the contract. So we're going to give you a 3-year contract and promise you all this money, but you got to go find another job if we fire you. And I think that relieves them of their contract duty somehow.
Oh, okay. Well,
so
that's
I'm not sure if they can go scot-free and go live in the island somewhere and not have to do another darn thing.
No, but that makes good business sense. I just think that this is a team whose upper management might be a bit quick on the trigger.
A bit?
Yeah. But I hope D'Amico Ryans gets a good, I'll tell you this. I think, and I could be mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, they have at least 4 draft picks that are pretty high. They got like 4 picks in the first 50, I think, or the first 75 picks. And the next year, they have like 5. So the picks are there. I'm pretty sure they're going to go after a quarterback in this quarterback-rich draft that we were just talking about.
I think they've already tapped our quarterbacks coach from the Niners to bring him over there also.
Okay. And their defense will be improved. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. So we'll see what happens. I wish him all the luck in the world.
All the luck in the world, D'Amico. We talked about this today. This is on Ben and Barry on football. This is the actual video of Tom Brady announcing his retirement from the NFL and potentially Ben says he'll wait until is this past the preseason, Ben? You waiting for the preseason? At what point during the season?
I want to see him on TV in a suit and tie, sitting next to a play-by-play guy talking about a game. I don't care when it is. Preseason is fine.
But you said you wouldn't believe that he's not coming back until the season started or something like that.
Right. I want to see him in a suit and tie on television before I believe. And even then, guys have been known to say, forget this TV stuff. Look at Sean Payton. Speaking of coaches, Sean Payton's going to Denver, right?
Yeah, I mean, they come out, they do TV. That doesn't mean they can't go back.
That's right.
That's right. All right. Well, he said he was retiring for good this time. We shall see. All right, Benny, that pretty much wraps it up for Ben and Barry on football. Thanks for following. Please leave any comments and suggestions. Our hashtag is football is life. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter. Well, we're not on Twitter right now, Ben. I took us off Twitter.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, once that Elon Musk guy.
Yeah, I get it.
I took I had multiple profiles. I took most of them down. I keep one up just so I can keep an eye on that guy. And it is interesting to see who's still there. Twitter in and of itself, I believe, I used to call Facebook a utility. I believe Twitter is like a utility.
Okay.
And so President Obama is still there.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he might be looking at it like you are.
Well, he might be, but he's
just
still
keep
there.
an eye on him.
You know, he's still there, and he got a blue check, which I understand is a whole. Elon Musk has a whole thing on that. But long story short, we Instagram. We're there on Instagram. So, and we have our podcast is on Spotify and pretty much anywhere you get your podcast at. I believe we're on Apple Podcasts also. So follow Ben and Barry on football. Thanks for joining us. And again, Ben, any last words?
Go Noles.